Today, I'm interviewing Tonya Williams. Tonya, can you introduce your company and tell us a little bit about it and when you started? And
Yeah. Yeah. So my company is Cat Zen Cafe and Lounge. We started in November 25th, 2022 in St. Charles, Missouri. We are a cat cafe slash cat lounge, and I emphasize more cat lounge. So what we do is we offer an experience for customers to come in and engage with adoptable cats in our lounge. We partner with local rescues, and so if customers end up bonding or connecting with a cat, then they can apply to adopt that cat. So we essentially serve as a community foster home for rescue kitties.
great. What made you decide to start such a company?
Yeah, so I've always been an animal advocate my whole life. I've always had a passion for cats, and always cared for cats, always had cats. And one thing that, obviously we know that there's a lot of feline homelessness in our community. And I wanted to create a business that differs from your typical adoption of cats. So typically you go to animal shelters where cats are in cages, they're confined. There's dogs barking. It's kind of chaotic. Sometimes the cats may be nervous or anxious, and so it's not the ideal setting. But shelters do the best that they can to help find homes for those homeless kitties. And a cat cafe, it's a different twist to that because we are a free roaming facility. So
Hmm.
cats, essentially, it's like they're in a large living room where they can roam freely. They have beds, perches. They're not confined, to a particular space. So they get an opportunity to really show their true personality to potential adopters in a less, stressful environment. And to me, that is what really just sparked it. It's just my love for cats, my love for wanting to help, cats find homes, but in a way that's less stressful for them. And it's a fun experience for visitors and guests as well, to be able to come in and hang out in a room full of cats and play with cats, cuddle with cats. You can't always do that in animal shelters, so it's a different twist to animal adoption.
Great. Thank you for sharing that story with us. And sounds like you have a lot of passion around that topic as well.
Yeah.
So you've not been open a long time, but if you did, as long as you've been open, what would you do differently than you've done, today? Thinking back, what would you have done differently from when you started?
Yeah, I think when we initially started, if I would have did a little more groundwork with marketing, even social media marketing, kind of getting out there, engaging the community. I think I started a little later than I would have liked. And so just to kind of get that following, that base early on. But it happened so fastly, I didn't really get a chance to do that. So that would have been one area that I wish I would have spent a little more time focusing on, is the marketing piece and really kind of building up the community in preparation for this cat cafe coming to St. Charles.
You got to start somewhere, right? You got to start
Yes,
somewhere.
yes,
If you wait till it's perfect, you'll never have it done,
I
right?
know, right? Yeah.
So what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how have you addressed them?
So I think what I hear a lot, and even the misconception I had before going into business, because I come from a corporate background, 40 hours a week. So, going into business, you kind of think that you're going to have more control over your schedule, work less hours, have that work-life balance. You're not committed to that 40-hour work week, but it's quite the opposite, especially early
Hmm.
on with starting a business. I mean, you're grinding. You're working easily over 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're up all night, making sure you did this. And so I think recognizing that it's you have to wait until your business gets to a point where you can kind of step back. So I've just been working on creating steps to have that work-life balance, because it's not, it easily is a time consuming venture, but it's worth it. But it's definitely, you're going to be grinding initially.
Now, do you have employees today?
I do.
How many employees do you have?
I have 8 part-time employees.
Right. So what are the biggest learnings as an employer that you've had from going from corporate America to now having part-time employee staff?
Yeah. Well, and even in previous positions, I've managed teams, I've managed employees from full-time to part-time. So I think in this setting and with this being my own business, it's just recognizing that you have to hire and invest in the right team because they represent your business. And your staff can make or break your reputation. They're engaging with the public, with the community, with your customers. And so if they're not, representing your business in a way that's positive, that can have a negative adverse reaction. So making sure that you have the right employees representing your business, I think is key.
So what are some of the qualities when you talk about your employees that can make or break your business? So what are some of the qualities that you look for in your employees, and how do you foster that positive environment so you can make them productive? Obviously, the cat, in the business where you have a cat cafe, you want people to come in and have a good time with the cats, but the cats are like are like any other animal. They have behaviors, right? So how do
Yes.
you foster that environment?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is, the employee has to have a passion for animal welfare, animal care, but also has to have soft skills, has to be able to effectively communicate, engage with customers. Like you said, they're cats. And so, sometimes things come up. And so having employees that are able to confidently redirect, coach or teach customers about cat behavior, so that way, that customer doesn't walk away feeling a certain type of way. So I really look for employees that have solid communication skills. And again, are there for the cats. They're, that those cats are a top priority. But then also making sure we're providing a optimal customer experience. So being able to provide quality customer service is key as well.
How do you get your message across when you see you see your logo, you have, I think your business is down on a main street. When I look at the outside of from your website, it's a very nice place. How do you get that message out? What's your main form of marketing where you get the message out of what your business does? How do you get that out to people mostly?
Sure. We use a lot of social media marketing. So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Um, Sometimes we do advertisements and boosted posts within that. So I'm currently exploring other ways to market the business. We've been lucky that our location does give us a lot of foot traffic. So that does
Great.
help as well. So that I think has been a key to our success is that there's a lot of foot traffic. There's events that happen on Main Street. There's people visiting
Right.
Main Street.
Right.
And word of mouth has also been key. I mean, we strive to provide a quality experience to our customers so that they either come back or they're sharing with their friends and families and encouraging them to come back. And so we've seen a lot of that as well.
Great. That sounds like a great experience that you're having so far in the marketing of your business. And from a supply and demand, is there supply demand market that you look towards in, getting enough pets for your customers that come in on a regular basis?
Yes. So we've been thankful. We work with two rescues who
Okay,
yeah, so we work with two rescues who they vet the cats and they identify cats that they feel would be a good fit for our cafe. And then, we intake those cats. So we average 15 to 20 cats in the lounge, which is the ideal number for the number of guests that we allow in the lounge at a time. So we've been very, very grateful to have those relationships with those rescue groups to be able to have those cats.
that's great. That's great. From an adoption standpoint, sounds like you're very busy from that standpoint.
Yes, which is what we're here for. Absolutely. We average about 10 adoptions a month. We're coming up on 100 adoptions in less than a year. So that was our goal starting off was to, hey, if we can get 100 cats adopted out in our first year, we did something great. And we're 5 adoptions away from that. So that's exciting and definitely something we're going to celebrate.
So how are you going to celebrate that? Are you going to celebrate that on your social media and make a big event out
Yes.
of that? Maybe even call in the news, or somebody maybe on one of those morning shows we were
That
talking
would
about
be
earlier,
nice.
KMOV?
Yes, right. So that would be, yes, that would be nice. Definitely something that we're going to share on our social platforms and also celebrate with my team, with my staff, because without them, obviously we couldn't do this. But then also celebrating with our rescue partners as well. So we'll definitely get the word out and announce that and make sure it's something that we're celebrating.
Right. So you're coming up close to a year, so you'll hit that goal within your first year, right?
Yes, yes. So it's like a double
That is
celebration.
yeah, that is a big celebration. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you talked a little bit about we talk about an action coach where an entrepreneur is someone who works 80 hours a week so they don't have to work for someone else to work 40 hours a week. So from that standpoint, has time management been a problem for you? And if so, how have you improved it?
Initially, early on, yes. I was easily spending 12 plus days either at the cafe or, working from home, doing things, which I expected early on. And I've been grateful to have support from friends and family.
Hmm.
I've since about 6 months in, I did hire an assistant manager. And so
Hmm.
I able to delegate some of those tasks to her, which has been fantastic.
Hmm.
And then that allows me to be able to create a schedule where, I have designated days that are focused on the business. And then I have those days to decompress, recharge, because you have to be able to give yourself a break as well. So it's not perfect. It ebbs and flows. I'm still
Right.
working out those kinks, but yeah, I would say where I'm at now, I'm in a much better place than, the first 6 months.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, reflecting back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you were 18 again, if you looked back?
Don't be afraid to follow your dreams. It's never out of your reach, if you put in the work to make it happen. Um, yeah, because I think early on, I would either doubt myself or think, oh, that's impossible, or I could never do that. But if you really, if it's your passion, if it's something that you really are passionate about and you want to do it, if you put in the work, you can make it happen. You got to believe in yourself.
So we talked a little bit earlier about, what you would have done differently when you started up, and you talked a little bit about marketing, et cetera. But you're almost ready to hit your 100 goal, your 100 adoption goal before your first year is even up. What do you attribute the growth? We did talk about, your marketing, the location that you have, the walk by traffic, et cetera. But those things didn't happen by accident. It seems like you felt like you started your marketing out slow, but something must have caught somewhere. You must have hit an inflection point where, every entrepreneur has that fire in their belly, the butterflies that says, is it going to work? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Is it going to
Right.
work? How far in were you when you just said, I'm all in. It's done. It's going to work. How far in do you think you were when you're like, you've hired assistant manager, you start hiring more employees, but there was some time in that less than a year that you just kind of said it's working. There's had to have been a time. Can you
I
tell me
would
about that?
say yes, within the first 3 months. Um,
Okay,
we we received a lot of community support within the first 3 months.
great.
Uh, and that proved to me that people want to interact with cats. People want to adopt cats. People want this kind of experience. So within the first 3 months, seeing our lounge being booked up, seeing,
Oh wow, great.
seeing events that we're having, those being sold out, that told me that this is something that can work. It's going to work. So I would say within the first 3 months, I was pretty sold that I can make this happen. This is a reality, and people want this. This is an experience that people, they want, and they tell us that. So
So now that you've almost hit that, well, you're close to your goal, very close. You're going to hit that. As you see that, where do you see yourself growing over the next 5 years? What's your vision of that? If you would share that.
sure. I would love to expand and either into a larger space or add a second location. Um, So that would be my goal, and to offer uh, more cafe selection, so just more variety, and beverages and drinks and pastries that we're offering, and to expand our catique, which is our little mini boutique that we focus on
Yeah.
cat supplies and cat gifts, for people. So that would be something I would love to that's the next step, is to either expand into a bigger space or add an additional location.
That sounds like a great idea, especially with the demand that you have today in the location that you're in.
Absolutely.
So what have I not asked you that you might want to share with other inspiring entrepreneurs that are out there?
Um, don't give up, even when, because we have had, days where it's slow and you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
did I make the right decision? But you always rebound. So, you can have a day where your sales or your revenue is not where you want it to be, but then the next day you exceed, what you expected. So it's going to be a roller coaster, but you just got to stick it in. You just got to keep riding that roller coaster and just have faith that, it will all work out.
Right. When you first opened up, obviously you're a solopreneur, right? You're by yourself. What
Correct.
what advice would you give a new business owner regarding financial management when they first open up? Um,
That's a good question.
hmm
Definitely get an accountant early
hmm
on. Um,
hmm
Make sure that you develop a budget, and that you look at that budget. I mean, I look at the budget daily, weekly, monthly. You really want to look at your cash flow, your expenses. So working with a professional, accountant has been a really big help for me. And
Right.
really understanding your numbers. So I do all of my payroll. I do my QuickBooks, so I'm in there, looking at those reports, and then I
hmm
consult with my accountant to go over everything. But just really making sure you establish that budget early on, and you look at that closely, and make sure that you're on target to meet those goals.
Right. Right. So when you talked a little bit about we had our kind of pre-meeting, you talked a little bit about the corporate world that you came from. Tell me some of the skills that you or experiences that you had in the past that you feel really helped you bring those over and transition over into your current role
Sure.
as a business owner.
Sure. So in my previous position, um, I was responsible for growing the business, adding additional service lines, and from start to finish. So from identifying a building, a location, getting the building ready to open,
Right.
marketing, reaching out. And so I already had that experience with growing a company, growing a business, growing services, and then also managing teams. So I've managed well over 100 employees at a given time. So having that HR background, having that management background has been very helpful. Also, the fiscal responsibility and understanding of budgets, how to read budgets, how to develop a budget, all of those things I feel helped in starting my own business.
That was great. So to all the young entrepreneurs or young to be entrepreneurs that are out there, what's one of the most influential books that you've read that motivated you that you look back on and say, I'm glad I read that book?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I'm going to get the title correct. I think the author's name is Simon Sinek. And I think it's Understanding Your Why.
Yep.
That was the key. I mean, that was kind of like and I actually read that while I was, in my previous position, but it really caused me to step back and think, what is my why? Like, what am I here to do? Like, what is my purpose? And that kind of just helped to drive me into following my passion. So really understanding why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's starting a business, in your current position. I feel that book was very, very influential for me.
That's a great choice. And yes, you get the title correctly.
Okay.
Well, the last thing I will do is put you on the spot, and that is really just give us the name of your business
Mhm.
give us the location and tell us why we'd want to stop by there as we close out this interview.
Sure. So we are Cat Zen Cafe and Lounge. We are on 319 North Main Street in historic downtown St. Charles. If you want to come in and de-stress, you got a lot going on, you just want to hang out with some cats, enjoy a cup of coffee, our business is the play. It's the spot to be. It's very relaxing. It's very therapeutic. It's a great experience, even if you're not looking to adopt a cat. Just being there in the company of cats, it's awesome, and it's always a fun time.
And your website's catzen.com,
Yeah, catsandlounge.com.
and your Facebook site is
Cats and Lounge at Cats and Lounge. Yes, very
great.
easy. And Instagram at
Yeah,
Cats.
yeah. And your logo is wonderful as well. So I want to thank you for taking
Yeah.
time out today to meet with me and share your experience and share your wonderful business, and wish you the very best. You got to make sure that you contact me. Maybe we'll come back for a minute or two follow up when you hit your 100. So you got to email me back as soon as you hit that 100 and let me know what you did for
Absolutely.
celebration,
Yeah.
and we'll get a copy of that back on here. So I want to thank you again for
Thank you
taking the
for
time
having me.
out. Yes, and I will follow up on those items that we talked about. You
All
have a
right.
great week, and can't wait until you hit your goal.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
You too.